A man believed he was rescuing a defenseless puppy left behind on a wet roadside. The small creature shook in his grasp, its large eyes pleading for safety. He enclosed it in his clothing and vowed to care for it. However, over the following days, peculiar patterns of behavior surfaced, vocalizations unlike any puppy's, movements unnaturally swift, and eyes that seemed to shine when darkness fell. Growing worried, he brought it to a veterinarian immediately. The veterinarian's complexion turned pale as he revealed the shocking reality. The animal the man had taken in was not a puppy whatsoever. The downpour had only just started when Mark traveled along the isolated rural route. He noticed movement up ahead, a small shadowy figure shaking near the road's shoulder. Two huge glossy eyes caught the light from his vehicle. Mark stopped his truck and bent down. The creature was diminutive, covered in sleek coal-black fur, soaked and flattened by rainfall. His initial impression was straightforward. A puppy. He assumed someone had left it behind. "How could anyone do such a thing?" he murmured, picking up the animal. It made a soft, squeaking noise, its claws gripping tightly to his hands. Mark held it close to his body. Once back at his vehicle, he enclosed the shivering creature in his plaid shirt. "You're protected now," he said quietly. Upon arriving home, Mark set it down on a towel. The animal's huge eyes sparkled. He provided warm milk, which it drank enthusiastically. Mark felt relieved and smiled. That evening, he constructed a sleeping area from a cardboard box, but when he attempted to leave, it cried out loudly. He allowed it to rest curled up on his pillow, deciding to call it Shadow by daybreak. Over the following days, Shadow adapted to its new environment, but behaved unlike any puppy Mark had previously cared for. Shadow produced no barking sounds. Rather, it made peculiar chirping noises. Its actions were accurate, smooth, nearly feline in nature. One night, Mark discovered Shadow balanced on the chair's armrest, gazing with disturbing focus before emitting a noise that made his spine tingle. Neither a bark nor a meow, but something between the two. His friends sent messages expressing bewilderment. "That's the strangest puppy I've witnessed." Mark dismissed their concerns. During nighttime hours, Shadow displayed restlessness, its eyes emitting a faint luminescence in darkness. Mark would awaken to discover it positioned at the foot of the bed, observing him. Shadow produced no barking sounds whatsoever. It created unusual chirping vocalizations that resonated strangely. It moved across the ground with supernatural smoothness, jumping onto furniture much taller than appeared feasible. A nearby resident observed it moving along the window ledge. "That doesn't resemble a puppy. Are you certain you understand what that creature is?" Shadow rejected dog food, demonstrating uncommon tastes for uncooked meat, even making hissing sounds when Mark attempted to take it away. The breaking point occurred when a neighbor's dog barked vigorously. Shadow became rigid and produced a deep, throaty noise. The barking canine fell quiet, retreating with its tail tucked. Mark's stomach sank. That evening, unable to dismiss the discomfort any longer, he made the decision to bring Shadow to a veterinarian. At the medical facility, Mark set Shadow on the examination surface. Dr. Harris inspected its teeth, ears, and claws. His expression changed from interest to worry to something more severe. Shadow chirped, and the veterinarian went still. "You mentioned you believed this was a puppy." Mark confirmed with a nod. "Yes, it isn't?" Dr. Harris swallowed hard. "No, this isn't a puppy." The space became quiet. Mark experienced a cold sensation traveling up his back. The veterinarian leaned in closer, then stood upright, his look serious. "This isn't a puppy. Not remotely. What you've transported here isn't tame. It's untamed." He stopped speaking briefly. "Mark, you've been housing a carnivorous predator inside your residence." The statement hit him forcefully. "A predator? No, it's merely an infant." That's precisely what renders it hazardous. Currently, it's small in size, but within months, this animal could turn deadly. Its natural drives aren't programmed to form attachments with people. The veterinarian's tone became quieter. I've encountered this situation previously. Unlawful exotic young animals from illegal traders. Individuals assume they're companions when tiny, but they mature rapidly and never abandon their fundamental character. Mark gazed at Shadow, appearing innocent and dependent, yet every characteristic now seemed altered. The pointed claws, the gleaming eyes. What occurs from here? Your decision to transport it here was correct. However, wild creatures don't abandon their natural behaviors. Maintaining one poses risks for you and creates injustice for the creature. It should be with experts who understand how to nurture it properly. The narrative circulated rapidly. A photograph taken by a neighbor became widely shared on the internet. News journalists arrived. The community became split. Some commended Mark's kindness, while others labeled him reckless. In a matter of days, correspondence arrived from wildlife officials requesting an assessment. That evening, Mark remained seated with Shadow resting in his lap, his throat constricting. Dr. Harris's statement echoed in his thoughts. It should be in its natural habitat. Mark envisioned Shadow months into the future. Bigger, more powerful, instincts honed. Would the young animal still have confidence in him? Or would its nature require something different? The following day, Mark gathered Shadow's towel and plaid shirt. At the wildlife facility, staff members greeted him with serious faces. Then arrived the most difficult moment, transferring the carrier. Shadow gazed back, eyes wide, as though understanding the farewell. Moisture clouded Mark's sight. I'm grateful for allowing me to participate in your journey. The days that followed felt heavy with quietness. Yet in spite of the pain, Mark understood he'd chosen correctly. Shadow possessed an opportunity to develop as intended, not as a domestic animal, but as a being of the wilderness. The narrative continued to exist as an educational example regarding wildlife preservation. And for Mark, it remained something more profound, a symbol that existence presents us with surprises in unanticipated forms. On peaceful evenings, he traveled the identical route where he discovered Shadow. Finding solace in understanding he'd provided the young animal what held the greatest importance: a tomorrow. Ultimately, Shadow's narrative concerned the decisions we render when confronted with duty, concerning affection, relinquishment, and the bravery required to release. As Mark positioned himself beneath the same storm-refreshed atmosphere where everything started, he spoke gently. At times, the most frightening realities deliver the most significant teachings.